Hello, good evening and welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. Let's take the headlines. Gloomy hope hovers on COVID-19 as fresh concerns over new spikes in Asia and Europe emerge. Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State threatens to reimpose lockdown if public nonchalance to guidelines continue. "2020 International Mother's Day. Mothers' strength in fighting COVID-19 in focus." Now, as countries around the world weigh the easing of COVID-19 lockdown rules, China and South Korea are reporting new spikes in infections, setting off fresh concerns in countries where local outbreaks had been in decline. Joyce Ometo is here with a review of the pandemic in the past week as a new week rolls in.
In the outgone week, COVID-19 case statistics in Nigeria as of 3rd of May stood at a total of 2,388 with 85 fatalities. But data compiled by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control as at 11:26 p.m. 9th of May shows that the country now has 4,151 cases with 128 deaths recorded in 34 states and the Federal Capital Territory, as no new state reported any case in the past week. The new figure represents 1,763 new cases and 43 new deaths in 7 days. While Lagos State remains the epicenter for the virus in the country, registering 1,764 infections. Cases in Kano, FCT, Bauchi and Borno states have continued to increase significantly. Nigeria has also been overtaken by Ghana as West Africa's most impacted. Ghana's cases shot to 4,263. At the start of the week, Africa registered 44,242 coronavirus infections. But figures released by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. 10th of May show that the continent has 62,673 confirmed infections and 2,246 deaths. The total number of cases has risen by 18,431, with 482 new deaths in the past week. Worldwide, the virus continues to spread as the number of infections topped 4 million in the outgone week, an increase of 636,329 in 1 week. A new tally published by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. shows a global record of 4,133,887 infections, 281,139 deaths and over 1.4 million recoveries. Russia is presently in the eye of the storm as the number of infections rose consistently during the week by more than 10,000 daily. The country now records the 5th highest number of cases in the world, with a total of 209,688 infections. In other news, China reported 14 new cases on Sunday, its first double-digit rise in 10 days. Lastly, new coronavirus infections are accelerating in Germany days after it eased restrictions, raising concerns that the pandemic could once again slip out of control. And that's a global update on COVID-19. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometo.
Meanwhile, saddled with the responsibility of ensuring proper planning and execution of economic principles to help navigate Nigeria through the impact of the COVID-19 on the economy, the Budget and Planning Office under the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning have held a virtual meeting with all state commissioners for budget and planning. The meeting is geared towards having a common approach in tackling the impact of the COVID-19. With an estimated 190 countries battling the current global health pandemic, experts say another global recession is imminent given the shutdown of businesses around the world. Nigeria is also crossing its T's and dotting its I's, having inaugurated a technical economic group for Agenda 2050 in its quest to revive the nation's economy. This time, it is bringing all stakeholders on board, from the subnationals to the national governments, to forge a common front in reviving the economy and reviewing the medium-term National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, using the community, local government, private sector and civil society as its major drivers. The virtual meeting, anchored by the Minister for State, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, is a think tank avenue for participants to come up with a workable national plan.
Again, Mr. President approved that 1,000 persons be employed in each local government area, which translates to 774,000 jobs under the Public Works program. These programs are going to cover works, environment, housing, water resources, depending on what the different states or regions may require.
For the medium-term National Development Plan to achieve its desired objective, the meeting agreed that there is need for a consolidated national budget to give proper perspective to government revenues and expenditures. Over to Northwest, where the Kano state government is making steady progress in COVID-19 response in the last few weeks. Now, this was acknowledged by the leader of the ministerial task team in the state, Dr. Nasiru Sani Gwazo, during a media briefing in Kano. Abdullahi Mustafa has the details.
Since the confirmation of the first case of COVID-19 in Kano, the task force committee constituted by the state government has been holding periodic media briefing to update the public. This involves presentation from various subcommittees and relevant stakeholders.
We have received quite a number of items from individuals and organizations, including that of the federal government, Your Excellency.
While the state continues to record more cases, 32 patients have been discharged and many more are awaiting their follow-up test results.
Since the beginning of this outbreak, we have infection among health workers amounting to 47.
More measures are, however, being in place to flatten the curve.
Now all the 3 testing centers are operating, and the next issue that we have embarked upon is to ensure adequate supply of samples.
These and other efforts, the leader of the ministerial task team sent to Kano to support the COVID-19 response, acknowledged are making significant impact.
The response is improving, quality of care will improve, and people's lives will be saved.
Members of the task force, however, expressed displeasure over non-compliance with the lockdown order in some parts of the state. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
And as part of efforts to further restore sanity in the prices of food items, the Kano State Public Complaint and Anti-Corruption Commission has met with rice millers in the state with a view to bring to a halt the incessant hike in the prices of commodities. Yohanasu Hassan Barao reports that both parties reached a compromise to distribute 30 trucks of rice weekly to supermarkets in the metropolis at a controlled price.
Kano is one of the states with highest number of rice milling factories, ranging from large, medium and small-scale industries. However, few months ago, the price of the commodity skyrocketed, making it extremely difficult for the vulnerable to afford one of the most staple foods among Nigerians. To change the narrative, the Kano State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission on surveillance mission to rice outlets in the state discovered that the hike is due to activities of middlemen.
Operators of supermarkets and other stores will buy directly from the processor. This is to avoid hoarding.
I am appealing to the federal government to allow all paddy markets to operate so that we can get it. Is the major raw material we use.
This, they said, will no doubt ease the hardship faced in accessing the paddy and will in turn increase output and make the commodity affordable. In Kano, Yahanasa Hassanbaro, NTA News.
And joining me in the studio to discuss outcry on inadequate attention and services at public health facilities cushioned by COVID-19 fears is Dr. Ejike Orji. He is the Chairman Medical Subcommittee of the FCT Ministerial Expert Advisory Committee on COVID-19. Dr. Orji, you're welcome to NTA International.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's move on immediately. Why are, health practitioners running away from their responsibility of attending to patients with other ailments?
Yes, if you look at the cause of the disease across the world, you could see starting from Europe, even America, there are a lot of healthcare workers have been infected in the process of trying to give care to patients. Same thing has happened also in America, where a lot of doctors died, and then nurses. In Nigeria, especially here in Abuja, we recognize that, and then we are working with the Health and Human Services Department of Hospital Management to develop a protocol for triaging patients, which means that protocol will be in observance in both public and private hospitals to make sure that any patient that shows up, the patient will be properly triaged and know whether the patient is at high risk of COVID-19, and that way the patient will be managed in a separate way. If the index of suspicion is very, very high, the patient is kept in a holding area and the EOC invited to do the appropriate things. And then if the patient doesn't pose a risk, then the patient can go through the normal hospital processes. But however, the important thing is that each patient should be looked at as if it could be a COVID-19 patient and take due care. And that means at least you wear your face mask and gloves and then observe due care while you're with the patient. We are doing this having in mind also it is also the right of the patient to be seen. We have seen in some cases some patients have lost their lives because people were afraid to attend to them, and then people let them to die for something.
Yes, Dr. Orji, having said that, really, we learned that the health practitioners may be shying away from their responsibility because of inadequate or lack of personal protective equipment. How would you react to this, and what is your call to stakeholders?
Yes, I can speak very strongly about the public sector here in Abuja. They have adequate PPEs, and then they are well kitted to do their jobs. As we speak, they have thousands of them in storage, and then I know that the acting Secretary of Health of the Health and Human Services Department had distributed those PPEs to all the state hospitals, public hospitals. Also, there is a conversation that the private sector offers a lot of services to the Nigerian public, and there must be a way government will ameliorate the cost of giving those services by making sure they also get some PPEs to help them in terms of treating patients, especially when they have triaged and found that this patient might be COVID-19 positive, or at least a high suspicion. So that is ongoing, and that's the conversation going into this week that we're going to be having robustly with the private sector to see that's how that support can be. Because without the PPE, it's like telling a doctor to go to war. It's akin to telling a soldier to go to war to fight somebody with a 106 Howitzer gun, and you're giving him arrow and bows.
Yeah, you've really said a lot, in answering my questions, but I must ask this question finally. What precautions should health practitioners take, while attending to patients, lest they come in contact with COVID-19 patients?
Yes, like I said in the start of the conversation, the important thing is to properly triage the patients when they come. In other words, you'll be able to look out for certain things that will make you have a high suspicion that this patient might be COVID-19 positive and treat accordingly. But even then, for those ones you have seen and you don't have a high index of suspicion, remember that almost 80-something% of patients are asymptomatic. So the index of suspicion should also be very high. Consider every patient that comes to you COVID-19 positive and to prove otherwise. But in that way, you protect yourself while you are giving care to that patient. But don't abandon the patient. Take adequate care and you will be protected.
All right, thank you very much. I've been speaking with Dr. Ejike Orji. He is the Chairman Medical Subcommittee of the FCT Ministerial Expert Advisory Committee on COVID-19. Many thanks for being with us on the news tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. Stay tuned for more reports just after the break.
Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
All right, everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV, live it, love it.
Many thanks for being with us. We'll move over now to southwest Nigeria, where the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has threatened to take tougher actions and reimpose total lockdown on the state if flouting of the gradual easing guidelines on COVID-19, which began on Monday, 4th May, continues. Now, the governor said this in a statewide broadcast on the update of COVID-19 at Government House, Marina, Lagos. Nusa Osula reports.
Governor Sanwo-Olu described as unacceptable the poor compliance level with the COVID-19 protocols, including physical and social distancing, wearing of face masks, not exceeding 60% carriage capacity in public transportation, especially by the yellow commercial buses, all of which were meant to check the spread of the coronavirus in the state. The governor also directed the police to immediately begin confiscation of commercial motorcycles for failure to vacate the roads this period as earlier directed.
People need to take responsibility. People have to take responsibility. This face mask wearing is to protect yourself. You have to help us protect you and protect your loved ones.
The governor also ordered security agencies to turn back vehicles violating the restriction imposed on interstate movements of persons. Governor Sanwo-Olu reiterated that while trucks carrying essential items and foodstuffs are allowed, those having with them more than 7 persons would also be turned back. In Lagos, Nusa Osula, NTA News.
And in southeast Nigeria, the Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has pledged state government support to the Federal Polytechnic Nekede towards the production of personal protective equipment, PPEs, to the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Now, he made this known during the presentation of 2 hand-washing, drying and sanitizing devices produced by the institution. Bright Ebocho reports.
The devices is a new automated pedal-operated hand-washing and sanitizing device and a fully automated solar-powered hand-washing, sanitizing and drying device produced by the Federal Polytechnic Nekede were presented to the Imo State Governor as part of their support to the fight against COVID-19. Governor Hope Uzodinma, who lauded the initiative, promised to assist in the production of more of the devices to service the entire state. He also stressed the need for heads of tertiary institutions across the country to come up with such innovation that will support federal government's effort at eradicating coronavirus, while also intensifying efforts in the fight against cultism in higher institutions.
I want to challenge you as a school to go beyond the producing what you have done and the sanitizers, to produce also things like personal protection equipment, PPE. Even produce ventilators, produce monitors. There is nothing rocket about any of these technologies.
The rector of Federal Polytechnic Nekede, Michael Arimanwa, commended the governor's proactive disposition to the fight against COVID-19, promising to continue to contribute their quota in the fight against the virus. In Owerri, Bright Ebocho, NTA News.
And the government of Bauchi State has refuted claims that people in Azare, Katagum local government area are dying from coronavirus complications. Now, the chairman, Bauchi State Task Force on COVID-19, Babatela, refuted claims while briefing newsmen on issues emanating from Azare. Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad reports that a journalist in Bauchi has also tested positive for COVID-19.
Yes, there have been a number of deaths. This death is kind of a seasonal symmetry of people in that area. This death also that took place in Kano and the rest of them which have been handled, also part of it spilled into other areas. But I tell you, and I'm very sure, the number of deaths is nowhere near what people are saying.
With an average of 5 to 6 deaths daily, the chairman denied claims that over 300 people have died from COVID-19 complications in Azare.
A lot of people from Azare transact businesses through Jigawa to Kano, and we started to have rising number of cases. Somehow the medical personnel, I wouldn't say forget, but we are not following the normal protocol that was taught to them or told to them on how to deal with COVID-19 patients.
1,103 samples were taken so far, and we have received 1,069 samples as at this morning.
With an increase of over 100 patients within 2 weeks across the state, some patients are expected to be discharged by next week. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad, NTA News.
And in north-central Nigeria, some residents of Makurdi, the Benue state capital, have asked for government and private sector interventions to ensure adherence to the compulsory use of face masks by all. They appealed for more sensitization to allow the masses buy into the strategic importance of the mask as a potential lifesaver amidst the fight to stem the tide of the COVID-19 scourge. Soese Ago has more.
The Nigerian State Governors Forum's proposal for the President to approve the compulsory use of face masks in public places from next month in order to tame the tide of increased cases of coronavirus to ensure a uniform and coordinated policy at the federal and state levels to tackle the further spread of the virus. However, good as this may seem, some residents who have lauded the proposal have appealed for government intervention in sensitizing and providing free face masks for the citizens, as not all will be able to afford it.
The clear awareness should be in place in the first place for those who do not understand and those who are still ignorant of what is going on presently. So when the clear awareness is all over the place, we can achieve the directive of the governors and the directive of president.
Surgical or medical face mask has a filter. And if you use the surgical and medical face mask and you blow through it, for instance, it doesn't allow air that you blow out or you expire to go to the external environment. For all the other face masks, especially the cloth face masks and the rest, what we discover is that these face masks are still porous. In as much as, yes, there is a little element of prevention, they might not be able to guard against viruses, bacteria, because when you blow through those masks, air still escapes.
However, local producers of the face mask are making brisk business. In Makurdi, Sirisi Agu, NTA News.
In the meantime, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the education system worldwide, leading to total closure of schools. Now, to maintain engagements of students and uninterrupted academic year, the federal government recommended e-learning and other open educational applications and platforms. Lekwa Bonde, who examines the process in Ogun State, reports that epileptic public power supply and cost of internet are some of the challenges militating against success of the mixed media learning platforms.
Most governments around the world have temporarily closed down educational institutions in an attempt to curtail the spread of COVID-19. For students to stay connected to school by all means, the federal government recommended mixed media learning platforms. While some are using Zoom, some are glued to radio and television for educational programs. In Ogun State, the pupils, students, and parents are excited.
It is really helpful because there are some things they have not taught me in my school because of the pandemic.
All the subjects that the students are taking were well taken care of by the school, making the teachers that were taking them originally in the class to give them the the lecture.
While some students are computer illiterate, unable to participate in the online classes, others actively involved are at the mercy of electricity service providers to either enjoy uninterrupted internet connectivity, listen or view government's radio and television programs.
More important, there are some who cannot even afford to buy data that could transmit all of these things and keep their children also up and doing.
Meanwhile, to assist students to enjoy uninterrupted learning, some internet providers have done this.
So as part of our contribution, we have 500 MB for you to be able to browse this educational website. I mean, to encourage people, because, you know, people are at home. They can't be on campus, they can't be in school, and they have to learn.
Joel Kowo is a final year secondary school student preparing for his external examination.
I don't think I'm missing anything, because exactly same thing we do in school, the same thing we're doing online, even better, because it gives room for the teacher to be able to ask each and every student if he understands or not. Because if you don't understand, you can be able to call the teacher back. The teacher will hear you loudly.
For Johnson Adejuwon, a junior secondary school student, Little Emmanuel Ogunleye and other children in the neighborhood, television and phone applications are no more for movies and entertainment, but staircase to the classroom and platforms for easy and effective learning. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA News.
Many thanks, Lekon. Now, 160 Nigerian returnees from New York have landed in Abuja. The evacuees indicated a willingness to return home. Consequently, the federal government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, commissioned Nigerians' mission to plan for the successful repatriation of those Nigerians, particularly those stranded because of the shutdown in air travels as a result of COVID-19. Usman Ali reports.
This is the arrival of the Ethiopian airline that conveyed the returnees, comprising 92 males, 60 females and 8 infants. At this moment of the global pandemic, the usually frenetic aviation protocols have changed. Baggage claims are done rightly at the tarmac. The passengers do not have to be in the airport arrivals as it has been. And from airport, the returnees are taken away for isolation to ascertain their health status with regard to COVID-19. Immigration, customs and port health officials are on ground, but no close contact is tolerated. All these safety standards are put in place to avoid further importation of the virus. New York is the epicenter of coronavirus in the United States of America, and the US is worst hit by COVID-19 in the world, with more than 1.4 million cases so far. In Abuja, Usman Aliyu, NTA News.
And those are the stories on NTA International. We'll call it a wrap on the news at 7 on NTA International. Many thanks for watching. I'm Chimobi Walter Najigoye.